welcome back to the Monday edition of Reaper Pro Tips with me, your host, Anne, Disembodied Hands Quindy, Disembodied Beard John, and, well, we have a song to sing, don't we? Quadruple subiversary, quadruple subiversary, quadruple subiversary, happy quadruple subiversary. To Corinne go! Kiki, come on up! Come on, celebration, Kiki, come on! Come on, come on! What? You want the whole throne? Go.
Corinne, I would like to congratulate you on your 48-month subiversary. I don't know what that is because I'm just a dog. But Mommy's excited, so I guess I'll come up here and yawn at you. Yes, this is what I feel, people. This is what I feel. Princess Kiki, out.
Yeah, there we go. There's your morning Kiki dose. Hi, no teeth. No teeth. You know better, young lady. Yes, that's Kiki, right? Yawn. I couldn't have planned that cue better, honestly. That's Kiki. She was like, I was sitting there going, God! She was like, not there. Man. Alrighty. Stuff in the air today. Take your allergy pill, Quindy. Okie dokie. We're on Angry Link. We are on Angry Link. Boop. I'm going to take his paddle and put him over here. 3 cars fixed. Oof. Yeah. That's just oof. That's just oof. That, and I have to put aside. I have to seriously, like, that my computer did not want the internet this morning, so I think it's time to seriously once again go hunting for a refurbished machine. Yes, I know. He mentioned that he was your son. "20 feet of irises." Wow. You just decided you hated them, Agent Marvel? What are you going to plant instead? But yes, the Kiki was there. The Kiki was at the con. You guys have now gotten me to bring the dog to I don't think I'm going to do it again, guys. I'll tell you that much. That road trip is rough. It's rough. And after so many days away from home, I stopped sleeping well, which means that it's even rougher. So if I'm sleeping well, I can road trip for, multiple days. But the minute that I stop sleeping well in the hotel room is the day it's off, and I need to just head for home as fast as I possibly can. She was a very good dog in general. In our, she wanted to pull us everywhere because she really wasn't sure about the whole experience, and so I'm gonna grab my rich leather. I think that's what we were using here. But we're gonna base coat the rest of our tree today. Get our gold blocked in. Yeah, right, Tristoma. Ah, cool. Oh, Kiki. Kiki's going to bring her ballistic in and just throw it on the floor as loudly as she can. Yeah? Are you going to throw it on the floor as loudly as you can, Big Fuzz? Yes. Yes. I know. Good girl. She's mostly done with her blowing coat, so the shedding has gone down to incidental levels as opposed to epic. But yeah, so that was the 1 year you guys have gotten it. We'll get a Kiki, most likely, because it was, it's just not, guys. It's just not. It's not a thing. It's just too long. It's too long. 4 days there, 4 days back is just too long. So those of you who met Kiki, treasure your experience. I will probably not bring her again. Morning Slayer. Ah, okay. Ah, I see. Yeah, that makes sense. Yeah, I've thought about getting rid of... We have so little planting room here, so I have thought about getting rid of stuff. We actually did pull up the oleanders, if you guys remember, and we planted new shrubbery back there that are much prettier and not toxic. I'm going to mix up my... I'm actually going to put 1 drop of NMM Gold Shadow in there. Yeah, sounds pretty. There we go. Just want to get a little bit of that in there. Alrighty. Alrighty. So I put a drop of NMM Gold Shadow in, so I've got, that'll darken the color just a little bit. We're still keeping most of our rich tones, but it was a little bit too orangey yellow, if you guys recall, last time. But yes, David is still fighting off the con crud, although he is much improved. The world here is just attacking me as far as my allergies go. And I've been very excited to see my my book. I've been looking at my dashboard every once in a while, my Kindle dashboard, and we are selling copies, folks. We are selling copies. In fact, since I can see like over the entire month, so I can see before my launch, I can clearly see that we are selling more copies after the launch than we were selling before the launch. So that's great. Sales are up. My book is getting people to read it. It's great. It makes me happy. You know what? I think I actually do need a little bit more NMM Gold Shadow. I think we had actually switched to the NMM Gold Shadow because the rich leather was just too orangey over the white. So hold on, I gotta get in focus here. Mutant irises. But yes, so we are getting people to read the book. This is good. Slow growth. That's what we want. And I did put up some new Amazon ads as well. I'm learning Amazon ads. Amazon ads are not for the faint of heart, is what I have learned. They are not immediate gratification, and they take a fair amount of work to keep going. However, I consider this actually kind of a good thing because it means the vast majority of authors out there aren't actually going to do the work. I know this from much experience with humanity. So if I do the work, that gives me a leg up. So yes, every week I must create my Amazon ads, a new set of them with new keywords, which I have to hunt down, but I have a program to help with that. But yeah. Haha. Oh, I'm not dropping the Patreon anytime soon. It would take, at this point, Karniko, my royalties on an average month, not a launch month, but an average month's royalties do not exceed my Twitch income. So I'm and that's like my Twitch income from just my once weekly stream over on my own channel. So although I am gunning to start getting some YouTube income as well now that they've lowered the threshold. I need to recheck what I need to do to get there. But yes, so. Oh, Sloppy Joe. Yeah, there it is, the last one. Or you can just go to Amazon and type in East of the Sun, Becker, B as in boy, E-C-K-E-R. That is my book. It is a YA fantasy based on Norwegian folklore. And it is doing quite well. Oh, guys, we do need to do one thing. For those of you who have actually read the second book, desperately we need reviews. I'm like kind of like wondering that West of the Moon is still selling because it's like only got 3 reviews. It's got a flat 4-star rating, which is still okay, but only 3 reviews. So our goal, as with East of the Sun, our goal is to get to 10. 10 is kind of that tipping point where you're legit. Like, if you have under 10, then people kind of give you eyebrows. Some people won't even look at your book till you get 100, but that's way ambitious. We're not there yet. That's just over time we're going to get there. Awesome. Goodreads does not, my books are on Goodreads, or at least The first book is, and the second book should be there. I thought I got on and added it to my profile, but I need to check that. Since I launched right before ReaperCon, it was like everything is a blur, and I don't remember what I did and didn't do. But with Goodreads, the reviews are separate. So Goodreads has its own reviews. Yeah, they are separate from the Amazon reviews. I have no idea if it even has any Goodreads reviews. I haven't checked. But yeah, Amazon reviews are really good because essentially that's where people are shopping, right? So some people do go to Goodreads to try to find their next book, right? And I personally, though, I haven't really. As I would say that I am an Amazon shopper. I tend to go and like kind of look at the bestseller categories for the things that I read, and I tend to just do some searches, and often I'll just get something suggested by Amazon given what I've read in the past, and most of the time that's a pretty good call for Amazon. And often if it's another author, like if I know an author, I'll pick up their book. On Goodreads, good, thanks. Yeah, so, but a lot of people I know do get their next read from Goodreads, thus the name. So yeah, reviews on Goodreads are also always treasured. I just focus on the Amazon reviews because since I'm running ads to the books, having those 10 reviews on West of the Moon would be it's definitely a threshold I need to hit, so I would be eternally grateful if any of you read the second book and you have the time. And you don't even need to write a lengthy review because I think we have a couple of lengthy reviews up already, so if you just want to leave me a star rating, that is cool. I'll take anything. When you only have 3 reviews on your book, you will take anything. You are just like, please, anything at all. You're desperate. You're just like, ee. So just so you guys all know, and a reminder to everybody, I am out on Wednesday this week. And I will be out on Friday the next week. That's for doctor stuff, so. Got my annual physical coming up and then some test stuff. And I may have more, but we'll see. Oh, that's cool. Yeah, when you get to it, Zachariah, you know. I know you'll get to it. I have faith. You've been very helpful. You and Richard and Turgeon have all been extremely helpful with the book. Like with you guys, I almost don't need an editor. Although the editor did catch out some of my bad habits last time. And the editor's good for continuity, too. So I guess I'll keep paying my editor for now. Otherwise, I'll have to start paying you guys. There. So we're just getting all of our gold blocked in. As you can see, we're getting it, adding the NMM gold shadow, help make it dark so it's standing out. This light gray is going to become white. So we'll have that recurring kind of white color on the back as well as the front of the model. Awesome. So I got to start on my owlbear from Adventure Cats Kauna on Saturday. I think I'm going to redo the face a little bit. I feel like it got a little too crowded. And I want to do something just a little different. But that's what happens sometimes. You start a model and you're like, you know what? This is okay, but I've got a better idea now. And it's perfectly okay to paint over. Like, perfectly okay to paint over stuff. So, I was reading a talk the other day by an author who specializes in kind of like speaking about how to get out of your own way during the creative process. And she was quoting a study that's really interesting to me and actually jives with what my own experience is. which is there are 4 kinds of feedback. And for those of you who give feedback to people online about your minis or who are looking for feedback, keep this in mind. There are 4 kinds of feedback that you can be given when you put yourself out there, right? And the first one is like unconditional, like positive, like awesome, great job, that's amazing, oh, I really like it, you know, that the unconditionally positive, like enthusiastically positive, I guess would be the way to call it. And then the second one is oh, that's all right, yeah, you know, the kind of halfway, oh, all right, yeah, I guess that's okay, it's not for me, blah blah blah, that kind of feedback. And then there's the you did that kind of feedback, right? Which can kind of be the backhanded compliment, but it's also the backhanded negative, right? And then the last one is they just ignore you. They're just like, oh, well, I have a game tomorrow and blah, 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 you know, or whatever. They're just like totally, they don't care about you. They are the main character. They are their own protagonist and that. But studies have found that the only form of feedback that is unconditionally good for your brain is the enthusiastically positive feedback. Even somebody who's like, oh, that's, you know, that's good, you know, even that, like, your brain latches onto the negative in that. Like, the fact that it wasn't just over, you know, that enthusiastic thing. And your brain sees that lack of overt enthusiasm as an attack. Like, it can actually activate your kind of fight or flight or anxiety to not get the enthusiastically positive feedback. So I find that very interesting. Now that's just you know, you just show your mini to somebody. Obviously, if you're seeking critical feedback, that's different because you're putting yourself in that mindset to receive that feedback. You're ready for it. You're like, okay, bring it because I can deal with this, right? So you've prepped yourself, right, to get that. But just off the cuff feedback. Yeah, and what you've got to do here, Sloppy Joes, is that if you want critical feedback in the Reaper community, you must ask for it, because we are going to default in this community in general, not everybody obviously, but in general the Reaper community is incredibly positive and incredibly supportive, and it makes it different from almost every other community out there on the internet for miniature painting. And some people kind of trash us for that. They're like, I can't get any real feedback here. And it's like, well, you have to ask for it, you know. You have to say, be hard on me. What's the next thing I can improve, right? You've got to specifically ask for it. So, and if you're a newer painter, okay. But yeah, so the Discord is a good resource. But yeah, you've got to be very like straightforward on. I thank you so much, but I'm also looking to improve. What's one thing I could work on? And asking not just for general feedback, but asking specifically, what is the next thing that I could work on that could improve my painting? You're going to get a lot more targeted and constructive advice. Whereas if you just leave it open, some people who aren't necessarily good at analyzing or breaking down are going to have trouble giving you good feedback that way. Not everybody has analytical brain. Personally, when a newer person or even an intermediate person asks me for feedback, I automatically go to, this is the next thing you could try. Because I teach, I've taught for decades at this point, and that's the way I tend to give feedback. But it's the most, in writing, I have found it to be definitely the most useful thing to say, okay, this is a weakness in your writing, address this next, right? Yeah, and it's like, that's why I hate that when people are like, oh, those who can't teach, you know, that's BS. I can kick butt at the miniature painting level, you know. It's like, I think it's kind of crap that people say that. It's like, just because we have an aptitude for teaching and we want to share the love does not mean that we cannot bring it. So yeah, I really don't like that kind of statement being made. But yeah, so yeah, if you want feedback, make sure that people know what you're looking for. Although, you know, you could just, the random feedback may also be useful, because sometimes when you're new in a thing, you just don't know what you don't know, right? So having just the scattershot of general feedback, but people are, in general, I feel, a lot of people, if you ask for general feedback, they'll say, your highlights, need to be better, but you may not even know, well, how do I even, right? You may not even understand like where to put highlights or what technique to use to apply highlights or any of that, right? Which is why I like the whole, okay, if there's one thing I can work on, because that'll give you that you could work on layering your highlights, or you could work on using washes, or you could work on lining, right? And then you can kind of look, kind of ask, okay, well, what is that? What's my first step there? We're just getting in and getting all this gold in here. And I did the dark line first so that it would kind of be sharp against the white and it would show up. Yeah, you must, yeah. There's nothing worse than getting a mini verbally destroyed when you think it's really good, yeah. And you don't know what that person's agenda is, right? That person's agenda is like, really? You did that? They could just be feeling threatened, or they may be the kind of person who has to put other people down to feel good themselves. Unfortunately, that is something that does occur. But yeah, so I found it interesting that anything other than the unconditional enthusiastic praise will actually trigger your fight flight. It'll trigger your amygdala to rev up and get ready to fight the tiger or run away from the tiger, because it foresees all your brain cares about is survival. Anything else is all you. Your brain's just like do. I'm just trying to keep you alive here. And I thought that was a tiger, because I can't really see real well, says the brain, who has no eyeballs. But I thought it was funny. And interesting, and something to keep in mind. So, like, sometimes, I don't know, I feel like you need a balance. Because I have met painters who are like, oh, I don't want I don't want that positive feedback. Don't give me positive feedback. Only tell me what's wrong with it, right? But I feel like that's also not doing yourself a good service. I feel like you need to surround yourself both with cheerleaders and with people who will give you honest feedback. Yeah, right, Critico, yeah. Yeah, and that's, I think, the ideal, Zachariah, right? Is like I said, you want the cheerleader, but you also want to be able to ask for that honest feedback when you're ready for it. Key phrase in that is when you're ready for it. And I hate to say this, but if you have really negative people, like people who put you down a lot, who get you down a lot in your circle, get rid of them. If you can. Or minimize seeing them. Because they can do some real damage. They may not even understand. They may think they're helping. A lot of critical people I've known in the past think they're helping. But they're not necessarily helping. And if there's a stage where your creativity is really vulnerable, just try to avoid those people during that stage. Like, only tackle them when you know what's coming and you're just like, oh, all right, well, this person's just going to be this way. But you deserve to have some cheerleaders, so find some cheerleaders, peeps. People who will keep you excited about your creativity. And about your potential, because everybody's got great potential. We can take it as far as we want. Don't get rid of them under the irises. Yeah, I was, find a good housing place. But you know what I mean, right? There have been people, and there are people in my current life that I am kind of just sidelining. Like, if they text me, I either, I usually don't ghost them, but I let them know that I'm really busy and just don't have the time. And usually that's true. Almost always that's true. And then there's the people who are the hardest ones, I think, are the people who are enthusiastic about you, but who also bring their own drama into your life. And that can be just as bad. So be wary, folks. Just protect your creativity, right? Protect your space. Protect your Protect your creative space and your creative brain. Find some good cheerleaders to cheer you on. Unabashedly. Cheer them on too. It's you know, it's give and take. Yeah, there we go. So as you can see, one thing I'm doing here is I'm taking the side of my brush, which has very little paint left on it, and I'm just it's it's still wet though, the brush. It's still the paint is still damp. It's not dry brushing. And I'm just dragging it over the surface to make sure that I can get an extra coat on these really thin bits. Right, yeah. That's why one of the best things you can cultivate is also, would you like feedback? Before you even offer a feedback. Would you like feedback on it? Would you, you know? And if they say no, then no. That's just the way it is. Yay, we got our gold all covered. Yay! Woo! Woo! Okay, now I want to work on the white. Because I'm going to be bringing up the gold to white highlights, and I want to be able to kind of like frame all of that before I get there. So I'm going to grab my pure white. I'm going to thin it way freaking down. Well, okay. So let's look at that. Like, because sometimes it's not a way of saying disappointment, Deborah. It depends on the person, right? For your mom, okay, that was her way of giving you a backhanded negative, right? But like, if I look at somebody who comes up to me and they're showing me their second or third mini and they've got really good brush control, I'm gonna be like, you are very high potential. Yeah, like, keep going. Like, I use that phrase, but I never use it as a backhanded way. Like, I never do that. So I think it's not just the words, but it's the delivery. I think that matters. Because I feel like, for me, potential is a very positive word. But for you, it's probably not, because of the way that you've encountered it. So it's everybody, that actually is a very valid point, is that if you give what you think is a compliment and somebody reacts, like, really doesn't react the way you expect, rephrase. Yeah, rephrase. Because it's like I believe that everybody has like honest potential in his life, and it's not like, I'm not saying that you haven't, like, I'm not saying I'm disappointed you haven't lived up to it yet. I'm saying no, it's still there. It's not too late. Guys, come on, I'm 51. I published my first novel this year. Like other people were publishing novels in their 20s. Like, Neil Gaiman knew what he wanted to do when he was 23 or whatever, but I still believe that I have potential, right? Big potential. And I'm going to act on it. It's not too late. It's not like potential expires, folks. The only time it expires is when you're done. You know, when you've left this life. Now, okay, then your moral potential is expired. But it's not like you lose your potential. It's your potential you can choose to develop at any time. Right. Yeah, it could be overly critical. It could be a little bit of transference. It could be whatever, you know. I mean, I think the best thing with such people is, I don't know, just kind of to smile, thank them, and I wonder what your mom would say if you were like, thanks, Mom. But yeah, for me, thank you, Kurtiko. I actually am a Neil fan. Like, when I was in college, like my first year at college was really rough on me. And my second year, for that matter. And honestly, Sandman was the only thing that comic book was the only thing that kept me afloat sometimes. Neil you can see Neil's, like, the roots of being a Neil fan in my work, just because the fairy tale and the folklore influence and the mythology influence is so strong in what I write. I don't write urban fantasy like he tends to, although I could and probably will at some point. But yeah, I still feel like Neil is a very good writer. I don't know that I don't know. I'm waiting for, like, when he writes his next thing. I really liked Norse mythology, actually. But my favorite books of his are actually older. Like, Neverwhere is probably my number one favorite book of all time. So, but thank you, Kerniko. You give me a warm fuzzy. Yee! Yeah, yeah. Yeah, Zachariah. Right. It's not too late. Like, and in Windrunner, I mean, let's face it, the 50s are the new, like, your 50s are like your new 30s or 40s these days. It's like, I was just reading, The Atlantic just had an article about the new, quote unquote, the new life stage. You know, people in their 50s and 60s who are, like, essentially, like, just starting a new, you know, a new vibrant phase of their lives. And it's like, dudes, this has been happening for a while. It's not new. But apparently it is, like, more prevalent now, and I especially could see it after the pandemic, where people just had to face, like, what am I really doing with my life, you know? I think that was a good wake-up call for a lot of people. So we've got about 3 drops of white and 3 drops of water. But I think I'm even going to go up to 5 drops of water. We'll see if I've made it too thin. I do want it thicker to get into these little curly cues, but for the outside, I do want it thinner. So I'm going to start thinner. Yes, gel tip, that is what I tend to do. That is what I tend to do. I had a friend who is also a writer tell me, I actually kind of refer to this in the back of the West of the Moon author's note, but tell me that it was a waste of time to spend all this time trying to get my, essentially what is my first real novel, to publication. That was East of the Sun, by the way. I had been working on East of the Sun for years, and this person knew it, you know, was familiar with how long and how many rewrites and how many everythings that I'd done. Pretty much told me it was a waste of time. I'm gonna beg to differ now. And it was really, like, people would tell me, like, I can't do something. It really is the hold my beer situation with me. So I totally feel you. I'm like, oh, really? Especially because if I really felt like it was a waste of time, oh, puddles. Okay, so let's take a moment to do paint here. So if you're working with really watery paint, and this is really watery paint. See how watery that is? That's like, it's not even skim milk. I mean, it might be skim milk, but I hate to use dairy products as a frame of reference in painting. I've always hated it. So let's just say that's really, really watery paint. You have to really unload your brush. Like, shift to a smaller brush or a thinner brush. So you have to really unload it. Only dip a little bit of it into there and then unload, unload, unload. If you put the brush stroke down and you see a puddle on the end of your stroke, that's not where you want to be. You want a tiny little bit, but you don't want a big puddle. I'm going to see if I can get really close here. Let's see. It's going to be hard to see because I'm doing seamless blending essentially with this. Can you see that tiny little puddle that I got? So you want that tiny little bead of fluid, but you don't want a big puddle. When I first put down that first brush stroke, I was like, puddle, and I was like, oh dear. But you can see how slight the difference is here between this gray and what I'm doing here. But if you want to get seamless, but yeah, if you want to get seamless blends, then this is how thin you're working your paint, especially with white. Oh, okay, due to reasons. Yeah, well, maybe you can PM me about it. I mean, certainly he is, like, well, nobody is perfect, right? I tend to, when dealing with public figures, I very much remind myself, see, that's a big puddle. That was too much. So unload, unload, unload. I very much remind myself that their paradigm is weird. And that they are human. But no matter what type of person Neil might be at this point, I will always love Neverwhere, and I feel like I still go back and read Sandman every once in a while. Alrighty. So you can see how that's coming up, just real light. See, yeah, and I will admit, guys, I try not to do that. Like, this is why I don't tend to follow the public lives of of celebrities that I like, or writers, or singers, or anything, because I know people are people, and I am friends with some people who have a fair amount of fame, and I see how it just twists your reality sometimes. I don't know. So I tend to just try to ignore the public lives of these people, and I just concentrate on the things that they've created that have enriched my life. Because otherwise, yeah, if I get it thrown at me that somebody is a terrible person who I used to like their stuff, I do tend to stop liking their stuff. And sometimes that stuff was stuff that I really liked and I would like to like again. So yeah, I tend to avoid it. I mean, you guys know probably that I tend to avoid a lot of media anyway. But yeah. I do really like Neil's now. I think they're separated. I don't know if they're divorced yet, but his possibly ex-wife, Amanda Palmer, the indie musician. I really like Amanda. She's good people. So we're bringing that up. You can see how subtle it is to bring it up. But if you want, like, this is transparent layering with white, guys. This is how I do it. Like, I don't start thick. I don't do wet blends. I start it super thin, and I bring it up with successive layers until I have that perfect blend up to pure white. And it's persnickety, and it takes time. But I really like the look. So that is what we're doing today. It is a very tricky subject. It really is. Yeah, it is. People can be different in their and I mean, yeah, it's hard to see. And the other thing to remember with media, with people who are more popular or celebrities, is that we don't always see the whole story either. I mean, that's easy enough to do even with non-famous people we know, right? We hear one side of the story and we're like, oh my God. But we don't hear the other side necessarily. I always kind of take things with a grain of salt. Because I just don't know. And I try to unjudge. Like, you guys know this. Like, I'm not very judgy. Like, I've done plenty of dumb or stupid or insensitive things in my life, and I wouldn't want to be judged on them. So I try to do that. I try to extend that grace to other humans on the planet. Sometimes it's hard. But if I don't know the whole story, I try not to form an opinion. They're just people. Yeah, they're just absolutely. They are famous people are just people. And they're subject to all the frailties and all the idiosyncrasies and all the weirdnesses that all the rest of us are. Yeah, and public figures especially get public. Yeah, because everybody's got an axe to grind. It's like that guy who did the article on Brandon Sanderson for Wired. And totally, like, made him sound terrible. Like, and people were like, how did you get that, right? Like, a bunch of Brandon's assistants and, like, people who were actually there when this guy was interviewing him were like, how did you get this context? We don't understand. There are definitely celebrities who are out there, like, really putting their best foot forward, that are conscious of the influence that they can have on, like, young people especially, and even older people who, you know, who are looking for role models, right? Yeah, and people do change. Yeah, and you got to give people credit for change. Yeah, like the celebrity is a double-edged sword. I did not want to do... I wanted to get my gold in there because I needed... If I hadn't gotten all my lining in there, gel, I might have done extra work that I then was going to wipe out with that lining. So at the very least, I would have done all the lining and then done the white. But if I did the white and I did it so prettily and then I painted the gold in, I would have a chance, like I did here, to smudge that white. And then I would have to fix a layered white, which is sometimes not that easy, if you know what I mean. So I would rather, I'm going to mix up a slightly thicker white now, about 1:1, because I want to get into some of these real small areas, and I need my white to be a little thicker to be punchy. Yeah, it's a style thing. It's a style thing. But yeah, just take your fellow humans with a grain of salt. Even somebody who gives you, who is rude to you at a con, or like is like, you just don't know if they're like exhausted and way peopled out and stuff like that. So give them the benefit of the doubt. Be kind to our human friends and our animal friends. All right, so getting a slightly thicker white, I can get a much stronger impact, and since I'm doing these little tiny areas, I don't need to blend, right? It's this big broad area that needs to be blended nicely. So once I've got my initial coat of white down, or when I'm working on these very small areas, I can just bring in that stronger white, that 1:1, to bring up. You can see how that's really coming up toward white now. I have so many like books in my Kindle that I need to read. It's not even funny. And since I'm about to start, I need to get caught up on Patreon. Patreon is my #1. Hey guys, I've got a Patreon, if you didn't know. Patreon.com/paintingbig. I've been doing it for over 4 years now. Gosh, 4.5. We're going to be on we got to do something for the 5-year anniversary of my Patreon. Like, something cool has to happen. I don't know. I got to start thinking about that. But I've been doing it for a long time. And there's lots of content, and you get access to all the old content when you sign up. So yeah, like, give it a look. And you can even join as a free member. As a free member, you don't get extra content, but you do get early access to my fundamentals of mini painting videos that I'm posting on YouTube. So you get to see them first. And then the $2 level gets the companion PDF for those. And I'm going to keep trying to do this kind of thing through, that's kind of something, $2 people used to get, like, separate content, but I was like, hey, this makes more sense. And I would like to do that. I feel like companion PDFs are a great thing, and I often don't have time to do them nowadays, because I've got so much else going on. I used to do a lot more of them in the early days of the Patreon, when before I had a new husband and a house and a puppy, and novels. But because I feel they're really valuable, I'm probably going to use the $2 tier to go back and do some companion PDFs for other content. Because I just feel like they're so useful, and for all of this, the fundamental stuff especially, because I get a lot of newer painters on my Patreon. So for the fundamental stuff especially, having those PDFs at the $2 tier, and then you can go watch the free content on YouTube, and you can read it, and you can really get it, like, from 2 different angles. I feel like that, for new people, like, that $2 tier is so valuable at that point. It becomes super, super valuable. Oh, you have a fence, or you almost have a fence. That's great, Kodiak. Not gonna hold out for a Kiki, huh? A Kiki baby. Well, I can't promise her yet anyway, because we have to get her hips and elbows done. I need to schedule those, but I'm gonna schedule them in the spring after all the crazy is done. I tend to keep my springs and summers rather mostly open, so. And I'm probably gonna have to travel to get those done, because I don't think anyone around here does pen hip. But it's funny, I was just chatting with of all people, my surgeon, my old surgeon who fixed me when I was having all those surgeries. And she and her husband are looking for a new shepherd puppy because they just lost their old shepherd. And she remembered she remembered my dogs, and she's like, "So, are you breeding?" So that's funny. So I've got all these old friends in Texas who might want a Kiki puppy. Yeah, for sure, Kodiak. Yeah, and you know what? When you never know. Like, you've got a breeding planned, and it might not take, or you might only get 2 puppies, or, things happen. Things happen. I mean, Bridget and I haven't even sat down to look at the potential boys that we could use for Kiki, and I'm not going to until she's 2. Then I can start putting energy toward that. Alrighty. Yeah, they are a chore, especially big breeds like Shiloh's. You must teach them to be responsible puppy members of society. And they're dingoes. Such dingoes. Alright, so I'm going to start blending a little bit down here. Clean up this blend. Yeah, I remember you. But you made the responsible choice, lady. Because, understanding when you are really not in a good place for a puppy, even when you want one, is like the very responsible choice, in my opinion. You want to be able to, give the puppy time and give it all the training it needs to set it up for success, and much better to wait. All right, so I lost a little bit of my lining there, so I'm going to mix up a little bit of brown liner, if I can find my brown liner. It's still in my Reaper Con bag. Yeah. Yeah, and then you'll get one and you'll remember like how insane they are, and you'll be like, never again, if you're like me. The only thing that would have me keep second dog at this point is if we breed Kiki to a smooth coat and I get a nice smooth coat girl or boy out of that, then I might keep a puppy. But even then, it's like, man, Kiki has to be older by that time, like, because we can only have so much, like, crate space. Like, our house is not that big, and Kiki right now still needs a bedtime pen to keep her off of our heads in the morning. Literally. So Kiki has to be graduated away from having a pen for us to actually keep a puppy. I'm going to get my liner out, and I'm going to fix those little lines that I missed. But yeah, they are work. They are a lot of work, especially the big breeds. I mean, technically all dogs are a lot of work. You can get away with a little more when your dog is very small and you can manhandle it, but I don't know. I wish everybody would train their dogs really well. But it's just so much work. It is a lot of time. People don't realize. Kiki's napping. Can hear her. Oh, I hear clicky paws. Maybe she was napping. Were you on the couch, young lady? We put the dog blanket on the couch so that she could actually have the couch. And she just lies on it and watches out the windows now. Hi, Bubba. Hi. Hi, are you here? Did you hear us talking about puppies? Yeah? Did you hear us talking about puppies? Hi. Yeah, good girl. Oh, such a good girl. I'm going to scruffle you. Mwah, and kiss your speckle head. Yeah, stretchy girl. Good girl. Oh, she just wants pettins, guys. She just wants pettins. Yeah, that makes sense, lady. Hi, good girl. You're such a good girl, though. Kiki is a very good girl when she's being a good girl. All right, Bubba, you got your pettins. You want more pettins? She just wants to lean on me and get pettins. You just want to lean and get pettins, so is that what you want? Do you want to come up and say hi? Oh, you can. It's okay. Oh, sorry, that was just my bag, Bubba. I'll move it. That was just my bag. Okay, now you can come up. Come on. Come on, Bubba. She got distracted. She was going to come up and say hi to you guys, but hey, Bubba. One more. Come on. Come on up. You can come up. Yay! I've got you. I've got you. There you are. You're solid. You're solid. There you are. Getting pettins. Getting my pettins. Good girl. Good girl. Yeah, it's my good keeks. It's my good keeks. Lickins. Yeah, good girl. Okay, get down. Good girl. She doesn't like getting up on my knee so much anymore because she'll slip off. She's heavy enough now. She's being a good girl. You're being a good girl. Okay, Bubba, it's not time yet. I gotta have a whole another half an hour. I've got a whole another half an hour, Bubba. I do, but I'll scratch your neck. I know you like it. Very good. Very good. Good girl. She's a good girl. Yeah, she's a pretty girl, lady. She's matured well. Now, if we could just get rid of the last puppy brain cells so that her dingo level dropped to manageable, we'd be okay. Hey, no eating paint under my desk. You are a dingo. Go settle, Bubba. Okay? Yeah? Yeah, go settle. You're a good girl. Yep. I still have to, I'm sorry, I have to work. Work. She knows the Warcraft orcs mean that I'm working. David and I use that all the time. It's really funny. She's like, oh, that orc noise again. Well, I guess I'll go away. It's really amusing. Do. Yay! Alrighty. Now I've got my brown liner. I can touch up those little bits and get the white going on, but you can see how it's coming up really strong toward the top. I want it strong on the top, then I want gray to stay mostly on the bottom. So that's our shadow for this. So I start with the shadow and work up on white. I do also on most skin tones. I find that with lighter colors, I have more success doing that, but that's just me. So as with everything, I advise you to try several methods and see what works for you. But whenever I try to start a light color, like at the mid, it just doesn't work as well for me. So for the fundamentals video this month for the YouTube is going to be glazing. My favorite, layering and glazing, my favorite techniques. And then next month will be wet blending. And then we're done with pretty much all of the fundamentals stuff. And we'll start working our way into other topics. So then I need to do more focused kind of things. Less general technique. But the nice thing is that if I'm, doing a short video on how to paint chainmail, I can then, say the techniques I used in this are blah and blah, and here are the fundamentals videos for them. And I can link those in the notes, which is great. So once again at ReaperCon, I ran into the fact that MSP is just so much better for layering than most other paint lines. I think Pro Acryl probably is similar. Good, Slayer, yeah. Oh. Yeah, if she doesn't have time to train it, it's gonna be problematic later. Yeah, that makes me just wince. Feel bad for the puppy and bad for the human. Oh yeah. Nice, Lady Kashara. I got given one by PJ, who ran the booth had them at ReaperCon. I'm gonna be trying it out. Probably doing. I'll do this month's $5 PDF on that pure old red. It's a specific pigment, and I did do a PDF on red pigments. But I haven't done really an analysis on Proacryl, so... Oh, no, tiny kitten! Yeah, you're totally, Crowley. You're totally preaching. But you need to make the time. Yep. Hold on. I need to see that comment, because I saw a comment that actually was paint related. Yeah, people have said that Proacryl is not good on a wet palette, which means it probably is going to be great on a well, honestly. When you need to control your consistency for a paint to work well, the well palette's where it's at. Need to unload even more. I can tell I've just got too much paint. Too much paint on my brush. Ugh, the allergies today. The allergies. Oof, the humanity. Higher pigment coat arms. Oh, yeah, yeah. Yeah, I had people talk to me. More than one person mentioned that, lady. That Proacryl on the wet palette, they didn't like it. It sounds essentially like it's got a heavier bodied base. And that's going to fall out of solution on a wet palette really fast. And that's that plasticky kind of feel that you're mentioning, Zachariah. Yeah, I don't know about Cuttlefish. I haven't ever used that brand. There are so many paint lines out there now. It's hard for me to keep up. I try to keep up with the ones that I really hear like a lot of people talk about. And a lot of people have mentioned Proacryl, so I'm going to give that red a chance. I tried their paint when it first came out. And I noticed some pretty bad color shift after thinning, and so I was not a fan. But things change, including paint lines. Just like with like food formulas, companies tend to change their formulations or adjust them and not mention it. Unless they're trying to rebrand as a new formulation, but tend not to, just because then you lose existing customers. Reaper had not. Did not, while I was on there, ever do a reformulation that we didn't talk about. Oh, yeah. Yeah, whenever when you're doing like wet blending and glazing, if you're doing wet blend and glazing, you can use anything. But if you want to do the transparent layering, like MSP is made for that. Like quite literally made for that, because that used to be my bread and butter. I do a lot more wet blending now on stream than I ever did before, and a lot more just rough layer and glaze. But there we go. I've got that nice bright white line at the top done. But if I have to do like yeah, the heavier bases are good for wet blending in general because they tend to just be a little stiffer, a little bit more plasticky. They tend to hold together on the surface well. Because with wet blending, you're really not adding water. Although I have been known to do a base coat and then use thinner paint for wet blending. I find that I just thin it just a little and I like that a little bit better. I'll be talking about this when I do the fundamentals wet blending. Maybe I'll do 2 on wet blending. And just do it straight up, because the first one has got to be full strength paint. That's how most people wet blend. But then I might want to talk about thinning it a bit. So you can still see a little bit of the gray here coming in as we layer this up. And what I ideally want to do here is I want to make my highlight be curved, circular, because this is a rounded shield. Yeah. Yeah, I always like trying other paint brands just to see. Sometimes, mostly, as you guys know, I do it because some of the other brands have pigments, access to pigments that I didn't have access to. So, I always enjoy that, since it calls back to my traditional painting roots. Bringing in that white. I had very little time with Ron at the con, Cornico. No, Kit Lady. This is actually on the shield. Like, this model, that's his name and his number. The shield is actually sculpted. That's part of why I wanted to paint this figure, actually, because painting, you guys know I do a ton of freehand, but it's rare to see Reaper do a very, very elaborate shield like this. They tend to be much simpler. Oh, I need to remember to put gold around the rim, too. Yeah, I fear for the fast palette colors, guys. With possible cancellations in the pipe and fast palettes already having disappeared, many of them. I fear for those colors. Get them while you can. I just had David order, like, he had like a crap ton of store credit saved up from all of his classes that he didn't like necessarily need super expensive stuff for. Nope, it is not freehand. This is part of the shield. Which, when intricate designs like this are sculpted, it adds a different level of complexity, which is why we've been painting this sucker. But yeah, I wouldn't have been able to do that side brush technique if it wasn't a raised surface lady, when I was putting extra layers onto the branches here. Because if it wasn't raised already, I wouldn't have been able to do that. Yeah, I didn't have much time with Ron at the show. Everybody, I mean, ReaperCon is now getting to the point where you officially see, like, everybody you know for 5 minutes, and then that's all. Unless you make an extra special effort to, like, spend extra time with them. Like, the people that I got to spend extra time with at the show were the people who were seated right next to me. So, Christine Van Patten and Jean Van Horn. Or no, sorry, Andy Pieper, not Jean. I was on the Van and names. But yeah, it was Andy Pieper right next to me, and then Christine just down. So Christine and I chatted for a good bit one day. And Andy used Kiki as a model for the new war dogs he's sculpting for Reaper. So if you want your very own Kiki to paint, watch for the war dogs to come out that Andy did. Because one of them is based on Kiki. So we're just getting that gold rim on the shield. The shield is white. And the interior is going to be gold, Pendrake, but a darker gold. I wanted white and gold because I have white and gold as accents on the front of the model. And I wanted to carry that white onto the back so that we would have white, white, white. Because there'll be white highlights on the sword, the hair is up to white, and then we have the shield. So I'm repeating colors around the figure again. Yeah, Andy does great critter sculpts. Carrie, that's what I suggested back in the day. Like, the tactic, I was in Ron's office when I said this, and it may have actually penetrated. But I told him that if I could do anything, I would reorganize the line so that all the reds were together, all the oranges were together. I would then do a limited culling, because obviously you can't keep 600 colors in a paint line. I'd do a limited culling to keep the most effective colors, because some colors are very close to each other. So we would essentially axe one of them. and just try to like tighten the line down and make it like make sense, and then just do like 6-pack fast palettes for some of the like colors that weren't as high utility or that were really really like stuff like Brains Pink, Alien Flesh, things like that, stuff that might be a little bit off that you might only use for a specific thing, things like that. Hello, Papa. Yes, I have dragons now. I don't know if I mentioned that to you guys. I have 3 of those dragons. Yeah, I think I mentioned it yesterday because I was talking about maybe doing some Patreon content on them. Papa, you have a tuft on your ear. She's like, I am not going to let you pluck that tuft, Mama. I saw those fingers. I saw you make the tuft plucking motion. She has these little, like, shedding tufts. You know how dogs will shed a tuft, and you can just pluck it right out of the fur? Just little tiny tufts coming out of the edge of her ear. It's like, oh, I'm never going to be able to get those out. So I got the black one, the brass one, and the green one. The green one's my favorite from the Dark Sword Dragons. So yeah, so as you can see, I'm bringing up the upper part of the shield to white. I'm leaving the gray shadow down here. Trying not to wipe out too much of my lining, sometimes unsuccessfully. I didn't close Kiki out today, so she just keeps checking, going, is it time yet? Is it time yet? Yeah, not available in the UK. Yep. You need to get, you need to get one of us to just acquire dragons for you, Kerniko, and ship them black market across the border. Like, you know, you have friends on here, right? You know that. If you want dragons, we can get you dragons. And I mean, there's part of me that's going, should I really be enabling Kerniko's dragon fixation? And then I'm like, well, you know, that's not my call. I do need a personal shopper. Yes, exactly. Kiki, what are you doing? She's like being bad so that you'll stop streaming. Teenage girl dog. It's all about her. Like, this is what we have. The only good thing is that I know I'm quite confident that we have taught her very well which things are hers to chew. So if she is chewing something right now, it is 99% certain to be an actual approved chew. Enablers United for Dragon Acquisition. Yep. Exactly. I probably should just close this window because my allergies are getting so lousy. But I haven't had to take a Benadryl yet. We're not that far from the end of stream. But yeah, so I will not be on Wednesday, folks. I has my annual physical. Which means I'll be fasting and grumpy. And I'll, like, carry a scone with me, like, to the doctor's office, so that the minute I'm out of there, I can gobble it down. Something like that, right? It's the treat. It's like, okay, I'm doing my physical. It's something I have to do. It's something I don't like. So I'm going to treat myself with a thing that I don't normally get. Oh, Dark Sword Ed Reaper model is still on, tribute model is still on sale in the store. Good. Excellent. So yeah, if you want Ed summoning skeleton, you should get it. We are going to paint it on stream. So if you want that model, you should snab one. Snatch and grab. Just so you know. I reserve the right to create words because Dr. Seuss said I could. Yeah, Moonlight stuff is good. I really like Christine's stuff, her latest stuff. We got the elf pack at the show. So I have the elven cat, and David and I are looking at making a diorama. A collaborative diorama. We need to decide on a backdrop first. So there, so we've got that nice kind of fade going on here. From the gray to the white. There. And I'm keeping the gray down here. I do have a little edge there that might be colored. Sorry, I was going to do that in green, wasn't I? All right, let's grab our leaf bud green. There. They weren't of it. Yeah, I wondered about that. So the con paints are colored metallics, right? Am I right on that? Bye, Jim Marvel. Yeah, so that was the other thing I was thinking about doing for my $5 PDF this month and next was some stuff on colored metallics, because I haven't done it. But I could use the Reapercon colors as as examples in how to work with colored metallics. All right, so I want to get this green down there. Yeah, I didn't get the Barrowgate box. I wanted those pastels, but they didn't have them. They weren't for sale. So I was annoyed. There we go. So we've got some green now on the shield. And some purple at the top as well, though that shows up a lot less, but that helps us repeat colors again. Yeah, right. Nice thermal. Yeah, I mean, I'm hoping the pastels will come up for actual release. If they don't, they don't, I guess. Seems like leaving money on the table. But it is what it is. So I'm just putting a little bit of highlight here on my green. There we go. Just a bit. Doing a little bit of wet blend here. Just to get a little bit of highlight up there. Yeah. Right in our... I mean, the good thing about the metallics, guys, honestly, and this is why I never made them back in the day, is that it's easy as pie to mix a metallic. Easy as pie to make some of those muted colors. And I was always like, I would much rather have X other color than I would have a highlight that people could just make by taking the midtone and mixing in white. Or a lighter highlight that people could just take the highlight and mix in a little extra white. So mixing in white to create a highlight is just one of the easiest things you can do in mini painting. So the only time you're really missing out is if you want to like base coat with that pastel and you need a lot of it, and then mixing it every time is really annoying. Ah, you split it. Yeah, I just don't have like that money right now. If I spend that money right now, there's at least 3 other places I would rather spend it. Like if I had $200 lying around right now. Got to get to be a bit more famous author before I can start throwing around money like that. Yeah. Like maybe they'd have to do like, because they're already, it does give you a discount on those swag bags, I think, but doing smaller ones would be cooler. All right, just felt the need to do that quick green highlight back there. I'm a little bit more tempted to just buy more stuff from Christine for Moonlight. I really like her style. And those 3D prints were clean. Oh, guys, I got, remember it, I told you, I think I don't remember how many of you on the stream were here, but David did the whole, you know, I looked at him the other day and went, am I going to have to learn to use this 3D printer to get my dragon bust? And he was like, that would be really cool. And I was like, but I told him if he wanted me to learn the printer, he had to buy me a washing cure station because I wasn't messing around with the crap like he was. And sure enough, he bought me one and some new resin. So now it's on, and I'm going to be starting the odyssey of learning to use the Saturn II that we have. Because I want my dragon bust. I bought some dragon busts off of my mini factory. They had a kickstart, a quote unquote kickstart of them, and I pledged for them. So I have 4 beautiful dragon busts that I really want to paint. I am looking forward to figuring out how to print them. But once I have that, my point here was that I can go to Moonlight Mini's store on there and look around as well. But yeah, Carly, that was David totally not wanting to do the work of dealing with the 3D printer, but wanting the results. I did tell him that because he learned the slicer, and he actually learned it pretty well. I think we got lychee. But he's learned the slicer well enough to make custom resin bases for us, which is fantastic. But I told him that means that he's the one who has to do the supports and all the rest of the crap. Like, I don't want to have to learn lychee when he's already learned it. So I'm like, if you want me to take on the burden of printing these suckers and learning to do it well, then you are going to be the slicer guy. This has to be an equitable marriage. Yeah, lovely dragoness tails. I know, right? I need to get back into a painting groove before I even look. Like, especially if I'm going to learn how to do this stuff and learn how to print. Once I learn how to work the printer, then the world is open. And I'm like, I really need to get a few things painted before I go diving off the deep end. But yeah, we've got this beautiful 3D printer, and we just haven't really... I mean, David, like I said, he printed like a custom base for his model, which is really nice to be able to do that, actually, to just create forms and 3D print it, and then, you know, sand it and finish it and make a very pretty, a perfectly, like, when you want an odd shape for the base. And David likes to really work with his plinth shapes so they really suit the Mini. It's one of the things I've always admired about his models, is that he extends his design sense to the plinth. Yeah, David has no problem with the support stuff. Magnetic plates, yeah. Yeah, yeah. Exactly, Kritiko. You have active cat to consider. But you should watch out, Kroniko, because I've been gifting things to people a lot lately. If I get a hold of your address, there's no telling what's coming in the mail. Just saying. Once I learn how to master this 3D print stuff. I really like gifting stuff to people. To gift a mini to Jason, finally. Now I have to... just a couple more sculptors I need to gift to. I feel like the sculptors, like, when I painted one of their things and gifted to them, I feel like it just, like, gets more appreciated than, like, Reaper. Like, you give minis to Ron, they disappear into the vortex. Oh, okay. Leveling the build plate. Got it. Yeah, he needs to get a airbrush and just, like, quick paint those suckers, Twisted Oma. The Hawkins vortex. Yes, exactly. Oh no! Oh, good. At least I'm like, you said dropped. I was like, oh no, it shattered! Papa, what are you doing? Wait a minute. I've got a Papa. Hey, Papa! What are you doing? Tell me you're... Oh, okay. You've got a no-hide. You're good. Like, it's just, like, instinct to, like, look and see what she's chewing, but she's actually being good, so... So you got some of that green highlighted. It is 11. We could go a little bit. Oh, nice. Nice, 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 lady. Yeah, gifting is cool. Yeah, we just got new resin. I asked on my Patreon Discord. We have a 3D printing chat channel, which I'm really glad of because it's going to help me a lot now. But D. Clearman and Big Aaron, Frayed Brush Aaron, helped me choose a resin. Because the crappy resin that David had before is just crappy resin. So... I don't remember what the name of it was, but I bought what they told me to get. So I have high hopes. Yeah, we have lychee, Bill. That's David's job. If I'm going to learn the printer, David has to lychee for me, Bill. That was the deal I cut. Because I don't want to... It takes me a while to learn new programs. And if I'm already sinking time into learning how to do a good job with the 3D printer, I'm not gonna do lychee as well. So if David wants his crap printed, he's lycheeing for me. Yeah, that was my resistance too, lady. And at first, it looked like David was gonna do it, because he wanted it. He was the one who bought it. But sure enough, it was enough of a pain in the butt that he decided... That's just sat. It's sat out in our garage gathering dust for the last 6 months, and it's annoying me. Yeah. Yeah, no, it's David's job. Yeah, it looks kind of like it feels like it's going to be a big thing, lady, but I think once you get into it, it's not going to be that hard. I don't know. I'll share my experience as I learn, because I love to learn, but I'm not necessarily the fastest learner. Which is kind of the weird thing about me. It's like, it sometimes takes a while for me to learn, but I enjoy the process. So, and I like learning new things. I like having new skills. So it's a good thing I do, because then otherwise learning would be very difficult for me, because I don't do it really fast. Kroniko. Yep. Yeah, I haven't bought STLs because I knew we weren't doing anything. Each print takes time to fail, right. Yeah, and that's my worry because we're in California and like tiny earthquake tremors that I can't feel but that the machine probably will react to are a thing. So we'll see. The squirrels are going crazy late. What the? Oh, yeah, they are. They're chasing each other. So on Saturday, we saw this big hawk on our back fence, like right at the end of the stream. And I looked it up, and it's a sharp-shinned hawk. And it's known for actually killing birds at bird feeders, Kerniko. And David is like, this is the first time I've actually liked one of your birds. And I'm like, it's here to kill the other birds. And he's like, And I'm like, it can kill, it's allowed to kill the house finches, because there's a ton of them, and they're annoying. It's allowed to kill the lesser goldfinches, because those things are like the dumbest bird on the planet, seriously. But it better not touch my chickadees or my nuthatches. So I'm saying. Or my Buick's wren. So, I like hawks, but Hawk and I better have an understanding about what it's allowed to eat. It was a really striking bird. I think I saved a picture that I found online that looked like the one, yeah, this one. This one looks kind of fat because it's winter, but it was, and the reason I know this is it is I remember how long, most hawks have like the feathers that go all the way down the legs. This one had a lot of yellow legs showing, and it had a really long tail for a hawk, and that's like what this hawk has. Oh, there we go. So it looked like this guy. Yeah, because the brown underbelly was so strange. I'm used to red tails and chicken hawks. Yeah, I love the raptor show. They don't have it out here in California. But this one had a blue-gray almost top. Like that dark top was almost a blue-gray dark. And then it had that brown belly with the yellow talons. So yeah, and they're really pretty from underneath. Like, look at all the pretty hawk feathers. Yeah, there's another. That one's more like what I saw. So you got that kind of steely, almost bluish gray on the top, and then the brown. But yeah, I had never seen like that brown belly look, and it was really pretty. Oh, there's another one. This one looks a lot like the one on our fence. But really, really a pretty hawk. So yes, I don't care if it kills the goldfinches. I've decided. There we go. But, yeah, so he's around. But apparently they are known for hunting around bird feeders. I just want him to kill some of our rats and mice. There are so many rodents in this neighborhood. I've always been amazed we don't get more raptors. But I guess the small yards with the thick foliage make it hard for them to hunt. Even though we have some nice tall trees around here for them to get the lay of the land. Yeah, R.I.P. goldfinches. They're so dumb. Oh my gosh. This is the bird that will sit on the outside of my bird feeder, my thistle feeder, at the top where there's no seed because the other ones have eaten it down, who will just sit there and yell. Just yell because there's no seed. There's no seeds here. I don't get it. There's no seeds. Where's my seeds? Like, seriously. R.I.P. goldfinches, indeed. Yeah, vultures. Yeah. I like vultures. There were a lot of them in Texas. But I saw one in our neighborhood here, too, so. David didn't believe there were vultures in California. I was like, oh, yes, there are. I've met one. They're everywhere. There we go. So we got our gold around the rim of the shield. We did highlight up to our white on the face of the shield. And we still have a little bit of shadow down here so we can see the light. We'll be able to highlight our purple. We did highlight our greens, which is really nice. Ah, different species do the size different. Interesting, Granny. Interesting. All right, well, it's about 10 after, which is about right. So I'm going to call that here. That's a pretty good stopping point. So we'll need to... the sword is the only unpainted thing now. It's the only thing that doesn't have a single coat of paint on it. Yeah. I'm sure he was treating condors as different from just vultures. But I told him you can always tell because if you look up at the underside of the bird and the wings are black, it's a vulture. And if you look up at it and it's light, it's a hawk. Yeah, no problem, guys. Oh, Rhonda will be on. Woo, Rhonda. Okay. Go, Rhonda. Go, Rhonda. Go, Rhonda. Yes. So, yeah, Rhonda will be on, so you all have to show up and support her. If you are free. In a couple hours. Yes. Thank you all for tuning in. I will be here tomorrow. Our model. Oh, we're back to Mermy. We're back to Christine's Mermy. When we decide to go purple on the hair. So now we're going to have some fun. I think we're going to have some fun. I think maybe I'll try doing starting on the scales tomorrow. Yes. So I'll see you guys tomorrow. Same time, same channel, same Kiki chewing in the background. And we will chat more. All right. Thank you, everybody. Have a great Monday. I know that's a horrible thing to say, but have a great day. Have a great week. Yay for purple, indeed. All right. Bye.